COVID-19 has certainly created a lot of challenges in the world and in the United States. A lot of challenges as well for food and farming. So thank you so much for joining us today to check in with some of my farmer friends.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Farmer Friend Check-In. I'm really excited to have my friends here from the big town of Kensington, Minnesota, which is not a big town at all. And they're going to be talking today about their farm, and they're involved in turkey, which is a big deal in Minnesota. They'll probably talk more about that and why. So welcome, Sawatskis. I'm so excited to have you guys here today. So let's start out by introductions. Tell us about your farm.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Erica Swatsky. This is my husband, Eric. We are turkey farmers. I grew up on a turkey breeder farm. I'm the 6th generation on our farm. So we've been around actually for 154 years. So we've been here a long time. And we were a turkey breeder farm, and now at the beginning of this year, we just changed over to raising market turkeys. So we've had kind of a big change on our farm. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then I'm Eric Swatsky. I do work on the side on the farm here when I can, but I'm also a high school agriculture instructor, so I get a balance of both worlds in the FFA and ag education and helping out here as much as I can.
Tell me a little bit about the pieces of the farm. Like, what's the difference between the breeder piece and the egg part and then the meat part? Like, what, for people that maybe aren't sure about that?
Yeah, good question. So when we had breeders, we would get those turkeys as day-old poults, so baby turkeys, and raise them until they were old enough to lay eggs. Those eggs we would pick every day for the entire day. I mean, it's similar to a dairy farm in that your cows have to be milked, your eggs have to be picked. So those eggs we would pick every day. We would sell them to a hatchery. The hatchery puts them in incubators and hatches them out and then sells them to turkey farmers who are raising turkeys for meat. So really kind of a very labor intense type of farm. And now with the market turkeys, still are busy. We have a higher turnover, with breeders. Those turkeys would be on our farm for about a year and a half. And these turkeys that we have now, we're raising light hens. So they're on our farm for about 3 months. So from the time that they're a day old until they go to market is about 3 months. They'll weigh, about 12 pounds. So significantly smaller than what we're used to.
And you'll see these ones as the we call them light hens, but they're the oven size. So these are the ones you see in the freezer section for the oven.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's helpful. So what do you love most about being a farmer, and what do you love most about being a turkey farmer?
I think being a farmer, what I love about it is I get to work with my family, and I'm kind of on my own schedule. Every day is different. I have a different challenge, but we work together to, resolve those challenges. And each flock is different from the next. So you always try and do your best to make the next flock better. And it's a lot of flexibility that I love. So
it seems like such a real job. It's, if you don't feed these birds, that's it. If you don't watch the temperature and you let it get too cold or too hot and you let it get sick, it's real.
Now we're in a time of a pandemic, and I think a lot of people are just really interested to know how this is affecting farmers and different species that are being raised on farms too. But what's happening with turkey? What's happening on your farm? What are you seeing? Where are the challenges that have come about because of this?
So we just marketed a couple weeks ago, one of our flocks. Actually, it's the first flock we've ever raised in market. So talk about kind of stressing yourself out. We've never done this before. And so it was our first time doing the load out. We had about 17,000 birds that we shipped that day. Our plant, where ours are processed, it hasn't had any problems with the disease yet. The question would be what's been put in place in those processing facilities between now and June for us, is whether or not there's going to be people there working, whether there's some delays in the process. And that will really trigger decisions on when we place poults in the future. Because if we don't end up having cycling to take care of our old flock, we don't have space to put a new flock.
The turkey industry is very vertically integrated, and it's similar to the hog industry. So if you have kind of a jam up, on our end, that affects everybody going back to the hatchery and the breeder farms. A quick example of that is back in 2012, when there was $7 bushel corn. Feed was really expensive for turkey growers, and so turkey growers were not buying poults to play. They weren't raising as many turkeys because they couldn't afford to feed them. So in 2012, we were breeders, and at that time, the hatchery quit buying eggs from our farm, and so that hurt us. And so that is just a reflection in the fluctuations that we can see and how that affects everything kind of throughout the entire system. And so hopefully we don't see that happening, but there have been some turkey plants that have closed, and I have friends that have had to weigh those options of, do we have to euthanize a flock because they don't have a barn to move them into, like Eric was talking about. So personally, it hasn't affected us on our farm, but we certainly know farmers that it has, and my heart goes out to them because can you imagine having to make that decision? There's nothing wrong with those animals. They're perfectly healthy and they could feed needing people.
Eric, as a teacher, obviously things are a little different. What have been some of the effects on your life with this and schools being closed?
Yeah, so it's definitely something I never expected in my career to see happen, and still trying to figure it out. But there's a lot of different things that have kind of happened in the last 2 weeks as we made these adjustments. And I would say a couple of things that I've really noted is, number one, seniors. Watching the seniors go through what they've done with it. You spend 12 years in school, and graduation looks like what it looks like. It's kind of a frustrating time for those of us in FFA. A lot of them are state degree recipients this year. This was the year they were going to take their team to national or whatever, and so their FFA members not to be able to compete at the end of their year. That's been tough. But as far as what the kids have been able to do, it's been awesome, actually. We live in a part of the state where we don't have great broadband internet access, and yet our students are performing at really high levels. I do a lot of assignments where I ask them to show me what they're doing outside, and with so many of our families being farm families, I'm getting all kinds of pictures of students that have been helping with the planting this spring and everything else. And with such a nice spring that we've had, it's been really good to be able to let them see that they can connect even closer what they're doing at home to what they were learning in the classroom. And I think it goes back to a lot of the traditional conversation about what FFA is all about and supervised ag experiences and everything else. So it's been good.
Good. Is your school planning anything specific for graduation of any kind, or how are they handling that?
Yeah, obviously everything's going to be floating based on what changes in the next few weeks here. But right now, the tentative plan is some kind of an event, maybe at the football stadium. So that way we can spread everybody out or do something to that effect. But they've been doing things online to support the seniors and honor each one individually. And again, we got to keep on doing whatever we can to let them have some kind of normalcy at the end of this thing.
Absolutely. Well, I for sure hope this keeps going better for everybody. I know it creates a lot of frustration and agriculture for a lot of us. Everything's timely. It's not something that you can just hold or wait or not do right now. So I totally appreciate where you guys are coming from and understand that it's a really big challenge. So good luck with all of the craziness. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time with me today to talk and let everyone know what's happening with turkeys and on your farm specifically. So thank you so much, and have an awesome week and a good weekend.
You too. Thanks, Natasha.